And I think what's happened is that we've started to recognize, and I really trust the people listening and watching right now, we've started to realize that the answer is not going to come from outside of us. We can't just keep waiting for suddenly the stock market to be perfectly aligned. We can't keep waiting for the political climate or the environment to be perfectly aligned. What we need to do is find, and more importantly, not just find, but create that peace and that calm within us. And that's why I talk about thinking like a monk, because when you look at the brains of monks across the world, they have the calmest, happiest brains on planet Earth. And I want to give people access to how to have that, because when you start getting access to that, now you don't need the weather to be perfect. Wow. Now you don't need to wait for everyone to give you love every single day. Now you're not dependent on anything outside of you, but you recognize that you can create calm. You're not going to look for calm. And so that's the perspective that I want people to do. And what kind of decisions you were making. I used to go and listen to CEOs, entrepreneurs, experts, celebrities speak. And once I was invited to hear a monk speak. And I thought to myself, what am I going to learn from a monk? Like, there's nothing to learn from a monk. Like, what's he going to teach me? How to be silent? Like, who cares? And I said to my friends, I would only go if we went to a bar afterwards. Like, that was my, like, I was like, I want it in writing. I was like,
that describes where you really were.
Literally, that describes where I was genuinely at. I'm not making this up. And I end up going. And this is what I love about that moment. The best moments in your life are sometimes the most humbling ones.
True.
I was humbled because I went into that environment expecting to get nothing and having my life transformed. So what ended up happening is I felt, and you've probably felt this when you meet people, when I was 18, I'd met people who were beautiful, I'd met people who were powerful, I'd met people who were rich, I'd met people who were famous, I'd met people who were successful, but I don't think I'd met anyone who was truly happy. And even now, if I asked you to count on your hand how many people you know that are truly content, satisfied, and happy, I think we'd struggle.
Absolutely.
And I felt that from him at 18. And the great thing is I know him now. I've known him for the last 14 years, this particular monk. His name's Gauranga. I talk about him in the book. He's still the same. And so he's maintained that. And so I started getting fascinated with him. So I spent every summer vacation with him from age 18 to age 22. Every summer vacation, I'd spend half of it interning at big finance companies, steakhouses, bars, fancy suits, and I'd spend the other half living as a monk in India.
That's remarkable.
Robes, sleeping on the floor and meditating.
Oh my God.
And then when I graduated, I decided that the monk path was more fulfilling than the banking path, and so I chose it.
What a remarkable young life.
It was my first experiment, you know, it's like you're literally testing, and I never judged myself, and that's what I love about being able to live life in that way. Like, I didn't judge myself when I was at the monastery. I wasn't like, oh no, I was just drinking last week, I can't do this. And then when I was out there with the guys, I wasn't like, oh no, I should be meditating. I was just like, let me really experience each life to its fullest.
Wow.
And then I can decide which one really fills me with joy.
Because they are borderline obsessed with the thoughts and opinions of other people. And you discussed that a little bit too. How would you tell someone who's struggling with this, which is 99% of the people who are listening to this, how they might deal with that or overcome it? Yeah,
I give this analogy in the book about how we're all like method actors. So I'm a big movie fan, I'm a big movie fan. And so for me, some of my favorite actors are like Heath Ledger, who played the Joker in The Dark Knight. You've got Daniel Day-Lewis, who's an incredible method actor. Now, I talk about in the book how Daniel Day-Lewis, at some points, he was wearing the clothes for Gangs of New York in his normal life, to the point that he even got pneumonia in his normal life because he's wearing these old, raggedy clothes. And he goes, at one point, he almost went crazy pretending to be someone that he wasn't. Now, when I heard that and I read that, I thought, wow, isn't that all of us? Like, you wear a certain role to work, you wear a certain role at home, you wear a certain role with your friends, and in playing all those roles, you end up method acting and forgetting who you are.
Oh my goodness, that is beautiful.
And for me, that's what I'm just seeing across and in and of myself.
Me too.
And I see myself do that. You become who you think other people want you to be. And so for me, the first step in that is writing down everything you're chasing right now. Like, this is a great strategy and a tool. And if anyone's listening or watching, get a pen and paper. If you're not, take a screenshot of this time code right now and come back to this. Because I want you to sit down and I want you to write down everything you're chasing right now, whatever it is. Make that list. Second question, where did that idea come from? Did that idea come from your mom, your dad, your friend, your brother? Did the idea come from me or Ed? Did the idea come from, I don't know, some book that you read? Like, did the idea come from your heart and your mind? Or was it born because it was influenced by your friend who just got promoted? Yes. Your friend who just got proposed to? Your friend who just sold their company for $100 million? Like, was that the reason? Because then that may not be your dream. And then the third question you have to ask yourself is this my dream? Or this is the question, is your dream really your dream? And when you go through that exercise, you want to keep the stuff that's yours, and you want to distance yourself from the stuff that's...
Let's talk about that for a minute. You talk about Dharma a little bit. How do you figure that part out in your life?
Yeah, so Dharma is a fascinating concept. I absolutely love it.
Love it.
And the loose language terminology for it is purpose or calling or your mission and vision in life. Like, what are you meant to do? It's kind of like what you're meant to do. And the thing about Dharma is Dharma talks about how we think we have to learn lots of stuff, when actually Dharma is unlearning and bringing out what you already have. So one of the things I mentioned in the book is that you can't be anything. There's two lies we've been told growing up. The first lie is you're nothing. You're stupid, you're worthless, you're not gonna make it. And I'm sure many people listening and watching have heard that from teachers, parents, aunts, uncles, whoever it is. And then the other lie that we're actually told, and I don't think it's a lie, I think it's positive, but sometimes it's misconstrued, is you can be anything. Right. And we all know that's not true too. Right. And it's unfair because sometimes people get misled. And the Dharma point of view is you can't be anything you want, but you can be everything you are. And what I mean by that is you have a genius, a potential, a power inside of you that you don't know yet. Why? Because you're inexperienced. It's not that you're unqualified, it's you're inexperienced. So people are saying, I'm stuck. I don't know where my life's going. I don't know what my purpose is. So you're perceiving yourself to be unqualified or underqualified. Actually, you're just inexperienced. You just haven't done enough things to let the magnet of your life tell you what it's attracted to. So for me, that's what Dharma is encouraging people to do. And this beautiful verse from this Vedic text, a monk text called the Manusmriti. And it says that when you protect your purpose protects you. And what I love about that, and you will appreciate this because I know you're someone that I feel is living this, a purpose is like a rare gem and you have to protect it. People will tell you that gem is worthless. They'll tell you that that gem is not going to make it. They'll tell you that that gem, that jewel, has no value. And that's why you have to protect your own purpose, because the world is going to constantly try and pull you away from it. So Dharma is it's not a belief system, it's a fact that you've got skills, genius, potential sitting inside of you, and you have not seen it yet. And I've seen this across the board. I literally just got a call from the CEO of Instagram probably about 3 to 6 months ago. It's been a while now. And she called me up and she said, Jay, we just had, I don't think I've told the story anywhere, so you've sparked it out of me, but she goes, we've just had this we've just had this talk from this speaker that we brought in. And this speaker spent years in a refugee camp. And in this refugee camp, not only did he figure out how to survive, he actually got his mother to save up for a computer and he coded a game. He taught himself how to code, and he coded a game that helps people understand how not to be violent in a refugee camp.
Gosh.
And then he used Facebook to promote it.
My gosh.
And they said we were so inspired by him that we brought him in to speak to Instagram and Facebook. And then we asked him the question, we asked him, what has had the impact on you? Like, what kept you inspired? And this guy goes, oh, I used to watch this guy called Jay Shetty on Facebook. And literally, when she told me that, and she said literally the whole audience was in tears at his story. And I said to her, I need to talk to him right away because I need to tell him, I'm like, dude, you've just inspired me. I'm like, dude, your life is way harder than mine's ever been. And if you can realize that you have the potential in a refugee camp to teach yourself how to code and to help people not be violent, I mean, you're inspiring more lives. His name's Luau Mayan. I'm like, dude, you're inspiring so many more lives than I ever, it's just beautiful. And to me, that story, I'm not sharing it to show my role in his life. I'm sharing it because I'm like, if he can find a way to find his Dharma, then we haven't got any excuses.
Brother, the person stared back at me like, how in the world is someone with low confidence or low self-esteem struggling from an ego issue? And I don't know that I articulated it well enough, although it's in one of the podcasts that I've released, one of my solo podcasts, but you articulate it Right on. So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept, and it's talked about in the Bhagavad Gita, another monk text. And in the book, it talks about how like ego is demonstrated in two ways. So ego is either I am the best in the world and I think I'm better than everyone, or ego says you're the worst in the world. You're the worst than everyone. You're much worse than everyone. Or you say my life is the best and the greatest. My life is the worst, right? My life is far worse than anyone else. So the ego likes to push you to the extreme. It doesn't like to give you balance and honesty and reality. It wants to make you feel like you've got the worst life in the world and no one else understands it and no one gets that. Only you get it and you get the worst. Or you're the best and no one else gets you. You're untouchable. And people miss that. Yes. They're like, how does that make sense? Exactly like you said. But it does make sense because the ego wants to be the top or the bottom. But the top of the bottom. Yes. It doesn't just want to be at the bottom.
It wants to be the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah, it's got to be the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, but the top of the bottom. Right?
Very well said.
Yeah, and so we get lost in that and we don't think of it as ego. Yeah. And that's why the only antidote to either ego is self-honesty. Is being honest. And honesty is, I'm good at these things, I'm great at these things, and I suck at these things. Right? Like that's honesty. And we could all sit down, me and you could sit down with a list of our skills and map out what we were great at, what we were average at, and what we knew we were terrible at. Yes. And that's honesty. That keeps you so away from either ego.
Do you think part of it too is that when you're suffering from my life is the worst, that you're focusing on you and you're centering on you, and there's an ego connection to that too, and that this pathway you talked about earlier about getting into the service of other people removes you from you, which begins to remove the ego?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a huge point you just made right there. Like you just dropped some serious, like that's like a, please don't underestimate that point, everyone who's listening. Like the challenge with all self-centeredness is that all you then indulge yourself in is your own pain.
Whoa.
Right? You just indulge, you just submerge and like immerse yourself in pain because it's all about you. And I think Gandhi said it best, is that you find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of others. And what I love about that statement is that what he means by that is, and empaths get this mixed up sometimes, so I want to clarify, because a lot of people who are empaths or listening are like, Jay, I'm always trying to help people, but then I get screwed over. So here's the answer. You're not helping people so that they can thank you. You're not helping people so that they can be grateful to you. You're helping people because you know it's the right thing to do, but more importantly, you're helping people because you get to understand and experiment and experience different parts of yourself. When I helped kids growing up in India that didn't have food and we were giving them free food, I learned so much about myself. When I was able to go and give talks that help people, or now I make videos or podcasts, you learn more about yourself when you help people. You don't learn anything about yourself when you're just sitting there filling out a quiz going, who am I? What am I? Like you don't but you learn about yourself when you help people. And this is what we don't realize. I can't remember who said it recently. It was someone saying about Jeff Bezos, but they were saying that, the scale at which you succeed is the depth of the problem you solve. And so even if you look at someone like Jeff Bezos, who's extremely successful, he's successful because he solved a problem that many people have. Bill Gates is successful because he solved a problem. So even if you look at monetary success, even if you look at financial success, it comes from service. Any success comes from service. A musician is famous because they're serving. They're serving you by understanding your feelings, making music. You now feel comforted, so you follow them. They have served you. Wow. So don't think of service as just charity and giving money, which are beautiful things which we all should do. But don't just limit your life to thinking, I serve on the weekends or I serve once a year.
Someone says, I'm watching this and I really have this energy about me after listening to this or watching this, and I want to change my life. And maybe I don't have super high self-esteem right now, and potentially I lack a little bit of direction. Or maybe I know what I want to do, but I don't know that I have the confidence to get there. If you just, hey, I want to turn my life around. I want to have some of these emotions that it seems as if you experience on a pretty regular basis. What advice or counsel, just in general, would you give somebody who wants to live a better life?
Yeah, so one of my biggest things, first of all, would be that we do this wrong because we do either or we do them in the wrong order. So in life, there are two aspects that impact everything: our thinking and our actions. And I read a quote the other day that was saying that the mistake we make is that we either act without thinking or we think without acting. And I think that's where most people are. If you're feeling stuck or you're like, I'm not sure what I'm doing right now, you're either doing too much thinking or you're doing too much acting. So you're just doing a lot of stuff, but you don't know why you're doing it, or you're just sitting there procrastinating every day and you're doing it. So I'd say it's both. So the first thing I would say to you is take a moment and speak to 3 different people. Speak to a family member, a friend, and a colleague, and ask them this one question. What strengths do I have? What do you think is my superpower? What skills do you think I bring? Emotional, strong, soft, hard, whatever it is. Do that first. Get that sense check. Second thing, for the next month, take off every weekend, 8 days, because there's 8 Saturdays and Sundays all together in a month, and book a different course, workshop, seminar, online, offline, go to an event, shadow a friend, go and spend time with an aunt, uncle who's doing the career you want. Go and have 8 new experiences. And after each of them, sit with yourself and ask yourself, did I like that, yes or no? Whether you liked it or not, ask yourself, why did I like it or why did I not like it? And then ask yourself, would I like to do it again? And if the answer is yes, 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 guess what? Go do it again. And if the answer is no, 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 don't do it again, leave it out. But if you've had 8, and this is the problem, we do that over a year. We do that over 8 years. And that's why life feels slow and boring and lethargic and stuck. But it just, in the next 8 days in a weekend, just test 8 new things and you'll have just a great experiment.